So Nicholas, we've come to Kilkenny today to look at maybe the slurry management systems. Slurry is becoming a big topical word now about storage and the whole handling of slurry, and so I suppose some of our customers have inquired about aeration systems, and just behind us here I see you have a tower and you have an aeration system in for a few years. Why did you install it, maybe, if I could ask that?
Yeah, well, we installed it for, I suppose, the simplicity of agitation, that the slurry was more or less agitated all the time, and you could take out a few loads out of it, or if you wanted to just take out work for half a day, you didn't have to agitate the whole tank or whatever. So it has worked quite well in that respect. Yeah.
So when did you install construct the tank, Nicholas?
So it was constructed in 2008.
Right, and you installed the aeration system
when it
at
was
the same
new,
time?
yeah.
And maintenance-wise then, did you have a service contract or anything, or is there a need?
Well, at the time I didn't sign up for the service contract, but in fairness, Dairypower have serviced it whenever required for me, and we haven't had a lot of issues with it as such, but sometimes they've just come and replaced a few valves and things on it, but the odd time a pipe might blow off and we'd just put it back on ourselves or whatever, so it's been quite, it hasn't been a big, the service has been quite good, that's all I say.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, what size tank is it?
It's 400,000 gallons, million litres roughly.
Right, and how often is it blowing the air into?
So
typically?
we set it up, sometimes we leave it, we set it up to work on a timer there, so mostly at night I use it kind of because we've got the night rate electricity.
And so have you ever physically agitated the tank then?
No.
No
never.
reason to?
No reason to.
Yeah.
No.
So what are the advantages of it for you as a farmer, say?
Well, the advantages are that it's, again, as I said, it's the slurry is ready to spread. We can take it out at any time. We don't have to agitate the tank, and it keeps it quite well agitated, and there's never any issue with crusts or with with blockages or anything like that. So it's a good system. I'm happy enough with it. And
right. So as we look down the field, like in a lot of farms in Ireland at the moment, you've embarked on a farm development here.
Yes, that's right.
So what's in construction here?
We're in construction here. We're putting in approximately 280 cubicles there, plus a bit of a lie-back area there of say for calving cows there. So it's about 280 cubicles going into that shed there. It's 280 foot long, and it's 3 rows of cubicles.
Okay. Feeding on the outside.
Feeding on 3 sides. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 3 sides. Okay. Yeah. And so you've 3 tanks. Am I right in saying how many tanks have you got?
Yeah, we've 3 tanks. 3 cross tanks in it, and then the nearest one has a L-shaped tanks coming vertically or coming at right angles there at both ends. So that's more or less to cater for the lie-back area, and also cows will be exiting through that one of those passages as well.
Okay, so you went all galvanised.
All galvanised, yeah.
And you fibre cement on the roof?
Yeah, fibre cement on the roof, yeah.
Yeah, and any reason for that?
Well, it's just, I find I've used fibre cement in the last few buildings and over the last 10 years or so, and we're happy enough with it. You don't have issues with too much issue with noise and with condensation.
Okay.
So that's it. And I suppose on the scale of things, that in general it hasn't worked out that much more expensive.
Okay, so. Yeah. And a lifetime job again, you'd hope anyway.
Well, it'd be hoping, they say they're guaranteed for 40 years, but at my age 40 years is not a long time. So.
I know, yeah. No. And so again, you went for your aeration system again?
Yes, we decided to put in the aeration again. I think, well look, again it comes back to agitation, trying to agitate long tanks. Those tanks are 115 feet in length. Across tanks, across the shed. The shed is about 95 feet, so your agitation points have to be outside, obviously. So, it just means that you'd have to, be agitating from both sides. And we were happy enough with the air agitation on the overground tank, so we decided, look, we'd go for it again, I suppose. And I think from a gases and emissions point of view, I think the air agitation has advantages as well, rather than letting it get settled, form a crust, and then go agitate. That you're releasing a lot of gases, you know. So.
Right. Okay. So you're spreading less fertilizer as a result of the system, or you're making more frequent use of your slurry?
Well, I suppose we're making more frequent use of it in the fact that we can use the trailing shoe type system with the air agitation. You don't have to, you can go out and actually, take a couple of hours will take out enough to cover a paddock in an afternoon, so you don't have to be worried about just taking out water or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's I suppose that's definitely going to be a plus, and a bigger plus in the future, you know what I mean? So as we now have to probably, in the next, from here on in, we'll have to be spreading all with the trailing shoe.
Okay. So. And the tower system, we would have customers in our design services inquiring about additional slurry requirements that they need, say, going forward. Say, as a system of storing slurry, do you like that system of storing slurry, or
I do, yeah. And I mean, in our existing cubicle system, where we're basically making partially redundant, we didn't have enough slurry capacity in those sheds, so we used to pump slurry to the tower into closed period, and throughout the year actually, because our tanks there were taking dairy washing, so we were pumping we pumped slurry regularly enough to the tower, so the tower gives us great scope in actually storage, has given us good scope in storage capacity, and I suppose in the future we'll have some livestock in the older cubicle sheds. We'll have some younger livestock there, but this new shed is basically to cater for the dairy herd, and it'll give us the option of even taking the dairy washings and distributing them as per, maybe some into the tanks to keep them into the new tanks to keep them liquid enough, and the other one then, and the surplus then into the overground store.
Okay. So I suppose the slurry towers is something we're probably going to see more of going forward anyway. I think
it's a neat enough option for storage.
Yeah,
if you know
not too much civil is required.
And I suppose that was our thinking in it, that it was, rather than lagoons or anything, our dwelling house is quite close to the farm, is in the farmyard down below, so, and it's a kind of a historic house, so we didn't want to be, trying to construct big lagoons out on the side of the site,
So we might walk down and have a look at the tanks.
Yeah, sure.
And just see how the whole system is installed there by Dairypower.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So Nicholas, we're in the shed. So again, maybe if you could explain your tanks, say, and how they're distributed.
Yeah. So we've got this shed. We've got 3 cross tanks, and they're 16-foot slats, so they're 16-foot tanks. They're 8 foot deep, and we've got two legs, 2 right-angle tanks coming off of one of them, and that's more or less for the lie-back, as I've said, and it also gives us that bit of extra capacity. So I think we're up to the mark for the 16 weeks for the slurry storage in this shed, and we hope to, from a scraper point of view, there'll be, the tanks are evenly spaced apart, so there shouldn't have to be the scraper won't have to push slurry too far.
Okay. On your main feed passage, what weight are you going for, typically?
On our main feed passage, we're 15 feet. That'll probably be reduced by about 6 inches. So it's roughly 14 foot 6, 15 feet. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we've got an internal feed passage at the gable end, because we closed it in completely because of the prevailing wind and the rain, so that
we'll on 3 sides.
Yeah, so we'll be feeding on the 3 sides. That's an internal one. We're feeding on the 3 sides, and then we're set into the ground here. So we're hoping that we won't have too much exposure to the southwesterlies there We're slightly below ground level there with it, and we can put a screening of trees or shrubs.
So is this going to be a straw lie back here?
Yes.
Okay, for calving cows or for tender cows? Or?
For tender cows and for calving cows, and for basically for a bit of both.
Right.
We have another calving set up down the yard.
What method of cleaning your passages then? What are you going to use? Are you using the rope scraper or chains or your hydraulic scraper? Or?
A hydraulic scraper, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very good.
So a two-way scraper. So
okay. Yeah. It's fine. So Lisa, we've come to see your installation here today of your aeration system. For those people maybe that don't know, maybe could you explain the history of Dairypower and where you're based?
Yeah, so Dairypower, they're established in 1973 by John O'Donovan. It's a family-run business. Dairypower have been in the dairy industry for nearly 50 years now. The products that we would mainly focus on would be our ProClean ratchet scrapers, our EcoClean rope scrapers, our easy flow back and gate, and our smart slurry aeration system in the last 20 plus years.
So your business, where are your markets?
So we have over 3,000 systems in 30 countries worldwide. Okay. So we introduced the smart slurry aeration system to the Irish market in 1998, and we're actually a market leader since then.
Okay. So where are you based?
In Blarney,
okay.
County Cork.
Very good. So what, typically is the UK an important market, or what market, say, for people?
Yeah, so we have another office over in Fishguard in the UK, and they would be covering all the UK, and we have a big business in Canada as well, in North America.
Okay, so shortly we'll have a look at the pipe work underneath in one of the tanks. So maybe the pump, could you describe how the air is pushed to the tanks, and how is that done?
Yeah, so how the system works, it all begins at the pump unit. Our pump could basically be described as the opposite to a vacuum pump you would use in your milking machine. So instead of sucking in the air, you're blowing out a volume of air. I believe that volume moves slurry rather than pressure. So that would probably be one of our biggest selling points. Another unique selling point for us would be our rotary valves. This is a simple device which can sequentially aerate a section of the tank for 1 minute at a time until the whole tank is aerated. This would run for about 3 to 4 periods a day. Okay.
And say, does it matter if it's 3-phase or single phase in the power?
No, it doesn't matter. It's a belt-powered motor. It can be from 4 horsepower and upwards.
Okay. So Lisa, we've come into a tank now. We've come down. The tank is recently constructed, and your pipe work is say installed now. So maybe if we start where the pipes are coming in at the top.
Yeah.
What are we seeing here, say, with those pipes coming out on the walls? What are we looking at?
So we have 2-inch PVC piping. These basically feed the manifolds. So air is pumped through the manifolds for about 1 minute in each section. Our rotary valve will feed these, and it will sequentially aerate the tank until the tank is fully aerated. It'll run for about 3 to 4 periods in a day.
Right. So you've you've got 2 different colour pipes there. So we're looking at. One is your main supply in, is that right?
Yeah, and these will be our manifolds here that will be blowing the bubbles into the bottom of the tank. The physical action of the rising bubbles will aerate your tank and keep it in a homogeneous, pumpable state.
Okay, so how often are say your spacing then? Typically, what's your spacing here between the outlets?
It would be just over 1 metre between them, so it's an even distribution across the whole tank. That means that you'll have an even distribution in your nutrients in your slurry.
How are the pipe works fixed to the floor?
We've stainless steel fittings, so it's stainless steel brackets and bolts. Due to the PVC piping and the stainless steel brackets, everything is non-corrodable and degradable.
So what are we looking at here then at the end of the pipe?
This is your non-return outlet valve. Okay. So air is pushed out, but there's no way the slurry can come back in.
Okay.
It usually runs for about 3 to 4 periods a day. It'll aerate each section for 1 minute at a time until the tank is fully aerated. Yeah.
And say this tank now is installed. How long to install a system in the tank itself here typically?
Less than a day. This took the lads now half a day yesterday. They got 2 tanks done yesterday and 1 today.
Okay. So it's ready for slurry. We're nearly at the point now where cattle might be housed. So
yeah, just the pump unit.
Is clean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's the last time that someone will ever have to look in the tank. no need for an agitator to come near or anything.
Is there much maintenance required in a system like this?
Very minimal maintenance. The pump unit is belt driven, so only maybe changing the belt. Nothing in here will have to be changed.
Required down here?
No, it's completely non-degradable and won't corrode.
Okay, very good. So Ciaran, we came down to look at the install here at Nicholas's farm here today. You're a dealer, say, for Dairypower?
Yeah.
Could you tell us maybe a bit about your business?
Yeah, so we're with Dairypower since 2016. Yeah, we do the scrapers and aeration for them. Really good company to work with now, to be fair. Always someone on the other end of the phone, and yeah, it's just going from strength to strength every year really with them. I suppose when I started with them, aeration was wouldn't have been as common as it is today, I suppose, but year on year the aeration is getting more and more popular, you know. A lot of new tanks.
Geographically, what area are you covering?
Well, on the aeration we kind of cover, I suppose, the greater Leinster area really for Dairypower, and scrapers then it's usually kind of an hour radius from our base in West Wicklow.
Okay. So on this system here, maybe could you describe the installation process here?
Yeah, so on this system here, we have our drive unit out the far side of the shed. We have a U tank down below. So there's 14 lines in the U tank. And each tank then is controlled by its own rotary valve. So we've 3 rotary valves in this system, and then we have a manifold following up underneath the power lines of the shed. It's a 90mm PVC line, and basically that will be pressurized all the time, so we use a bigger line then the way there's always you know, an adequate amount of air supply ready for the tanks. So we'll drop it down the inside of the pillars then to each valve.
Why is it overhead, Ciaran, as opposed to under the ground maybe? Or
yeah, just from a building point of view really, like, you know, it's just a lot easier to run it in overhead other than burying it under the ground. And of course if there's ever you know, there's not never going to hit it up there, I suppose, as opposed to under the ground. You don't know what's people drilling and water lines and stuff like that. So
how long to install it in a tank like this?
It took us 2 days to do here now, so 4 guys, 2 days. Most tanks, I suppose, you'd be in and out in a day.
Right. So
by the time you just pump out whatever water's in it and sweep down the tanks, and usually a day does it, 3 guys, you know.
Any advice for a farmer using it? Well, you know, what are the do's and don'ts?
I'd say the most common perception is that oh, you couldn't leave it on all the time because it'll cost too much to run on ESB. But most systems, when you break it down for the farmer and work it out, you know, your kilowatts per hour, it's usually costing less than €1 a day to run.
Okay.
So I suppose when the tanks are low, some farmers probably are inclined to switch it off, whereas we'd be trying to encourage them to leave it on, and that way, you know, the slurry it never forms a crust, like, you know.
Okay. Yeah. And say, what type of tanks you install in the aeration system on? Are you doing any lagoons, or is it all towers and concrete tanks like this, or?
I'd say 80% of them are concrete tanks like this. We've actually won an open tank now to fit in the next couple of weeks, and lagoons as well. But it's mostly concrete tanks.
Right. And
I suppose again, there's a perception out there, I suppose, that anyone that has a tank already, that they can't fit it, but a lot of the time it's what we've done a good few jobs with guys putting in new tanks, and they put the aeration system in it, and then they're delighted with it and they want to go back and retrofit them to the old tanks.
And is that much of a job, like it?
No, again, it's probably the fear of going down in the tanks and cleaning it out, but usually it's like half a day if you get it, like either a back actor or something down, and like I've seen lads lifting tractors down and cleaning them out, and I've seen guys just sweeping it with sandbags and kind of pooling the slurry. But to be fair, it's usually half a day's work, and it's
need a reasonably clean floor to get it on.
Yeah, well, it's just basically if the drill, you know, every meter you're putting 2 fixings into the ground, so it's kind of obviously if there's, you know, you just have to be, when you're drilling, you have to be able to find a hole, really. That's all.
Right.
You know, so
get your plug in.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And say you're involved in milking machines as well, are you?
Yeah, so I suppose we do the, we're based in West Wicklow, so we do the milking machines for Pearson's in Athy.
Yeah.
And we do all the Dairypower equipment then is for the slurry management, and then we do the JFC calf feeders, the Evolution.
Okay.
So we're with JFC now the last 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah, we kind of we have another string to our bow, I suppose, with the feeders. But
yeah, and you're in a strong area for dairy farmers. There's a lot of cows from here back up to Wicklow.
We're in a good location, I suppose. West Wicklow, kind of an hour gets us, an hour gets us to Kilkenny, Carlow, Kildare, Laois, Wicklow, Wexford. So yeah, sure, nowhere's too far now with motorways.
No, yeah, very good. No, thank you for your time.
No problem.